touch her in a way that he never did.
I have the opportunity to interview a truly excellent creator, a painter, a choreographer, and someone who truly encapsulates the spirit of the Share Your Voice page, Mr. Arik Sexton.
Yes, sir. My name's Arik Sexton. I'm so happy to be on the artist page. Brian asked me a minute ago to do the interview, and I'm so happy to be here to just answer your questions, man.
You know, first and foremost, it's a pleasure to interview, and secondly, you know, we want you to know that your work is appreciated and loved across St. Louis. You know, artists don't get their due, but we want you to know that you're having an impact on the lives of others.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what I do it for. That's especially why I dance. So I appreciate you letting artists feel that love, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. I wanted to ask you about your inspiration as an artist. What inspires you?
First and foremost, I would have to say my family, man. I have two younger brothers. Names are Austin and Alex. One of them loves to write. The other one is a music producer. He just graduated. So my little bros keep me inspired. But even when I was younger, I just had a love for music. Music, whether it was at family gatherings or my dad playing something on the way to school. And my dad was he was always drawing superheroes and stuff like with me as a kid. So I think those are kind of my foundations for what inspires me, like at my core. Of course, today, as I'm older, as I'm developing, I'm meeting other creatives that inspire me every day, hearing new music, and just responding to what's going on in the world, you know.
And that kind of brings me into my second question. You're not only a choreographer and a dancer, you're a painter as well. So describe kind of how you got sucked into the art scene, or you know, how you grew up as a kid.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's a great question, because dance and painting has had such a effect on just my perspective in general. I guess from a very technical aspect, all of my crafts feel related just due to layers and colors. The best way I can break it down in a very kind of analytical way, I guess, with graphic design, because I'm a graphic designer as well. So graphic design in Photoshop and Illustrator, I build stuff in layers. You can tweak the opacity. You can play with filters, and when all that stuff overlaps, you get different pictures from that. You get different effects. You get different moments. I feel the same way when I paint and I'm layering on color, whether it's painting a figure or abstract, just finding moments between, you know, different colors clashing, or you get different textures together. And then even in choreography, for sure, choreography is all about the moments. You choreograph, you're creating art literally with your body, and you're creating visual moments, you're creating pictures, you're creating something that the audience needs to digest. So you're communicating with your full form. And it would be hard for me to pick just one, you know. People say you need to pick one thing and like to get really great at, but they all feel the same for me a lot of time.
So this kind of bridges me into a different type of segment. The marquee St. Louis question, obviously, is what high school did you go to?
Yeah, I went to Metro High School. It's on McPherson Road. It's around the corner from Cardinal Ritter. That's how I always explain it, because some people haven't heard of it. But
did you have to kind of apply? Was there like a lottery system to get to Metro at that time?
You know, I have such a great mom. She took care of a lot of that for me, and I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't even remember. She got me. I guess there was some kind of testing that I took, or I don't know if they took scores from, I don't know, some kind of previous test. But she definitely wanted me to go to Kennard. Actually, went to Kennard, then Kennard, McKinley, then Metro to get in the quote unquote gifted program.
So your high school experience, because I feel like high school is kind of where we bridge off. We're kind of developing ourselves, even middle school as well, you know, into who we're going to be. So tell me a little bit about that.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah, Metro was a small school, man. My graduating class was about 65 people. So it was a bit different compared to the bigger SLPS schools. Everybody kind of hung together randomly. But of course it was still like cliquey, but it's whatever. But my experience personally, it was a lot of work. They were preparing you for college, but the extracurriculars is what, you know, as a kid, that's what keeps you going. So I was playing basketball. I was on the dance team, was a co-captain, became a captain. So dance was already in me. It was a big influence for high school, and then I danced all through college too.
A little bit more about the St. Louis education system. So one thing we had a
Okay.
interview with Gracious Massaquoi, me and my dad, who's an educator over at Ridner, we
Okay.
talked about educational inequality. And so did you experience any of that firsthand at Metro?
Man, I would say there was some underlying tension with like certain teachers, or maybe not an understanding or not an openness on how to communicate material, or maybe even being insensitive, especially like with history. History is always a tricky one,
Right.
because it's so Eurocentric, right?
Right.
So to communicate that to someone who doesn't have a strong sense of like nationalism or this American dream, you know, Black people, how do we digest that as kids and then get a passing grade? Or in literature class, when certain poetry is looked at as, oh, this is a classic, this is great, but we don't connect to it. You know what I'm saying? It's not in our spirit. So it's tough to try to get a grade in that. It's tough to try to get a good grade in that, because like the literature class is what I probably struggle with the most.
Why do you feel Black Lives Matter?
Why do I feel Black Lives Matter? That is a huge topic as well. Voices have been silenced for so long, since the start of, I won't say the start of history, but the start of the birth of this nation. Voices have been silenced. So bringing the whole movement, the purpose of it is to flip the script, because everything is so focused on like shutting it down. Perfect example, the whole stock market fiasco going on, where GameStop popped up, right? And billionaires are pissed off because hedge funds are using money, and they stop people from trading, but they were playing by the rules. And I see that as a huge, I don't even know if it's a microcosm, it's a macrocosm, because we're in a system, people band together, play by the rules, and people with the power and money that have accumulated it unfairly over time have shut people off, you know? And so that, I guess that would be a metaphor, but that's how I see Black Lives Matter. That's why Black Lives Matter. There's so much context around that. It matters because Black people have been silenced, and when we continue to speak up about it, it's looked at as violence, as something wrong, when we're saying they matter because they haven't for so long. So that's my best way of summarizing it.
Thank you, number one, for your time, for your openness, to be able to have this dialogue. Your voice is very much appreciated. We appreciate your intelligence and your insight on these issues. And to the community, thank you for supporting St. Louis artists.
I want to give a big thank you to you for just coming to me about the interview, reaching out to different artists and giving us a platform and having an open dialogue.
Like she's never been, baby, I jump on it and go on and on and on and on. She makes me her like she's never been. She asked me to touch her. She asked me to love on her over again. She crossing lines with this. Show me what a friendship gets, baby. Can't say you never crossed my mind, especially at 4 a.m. and nothing's on TV. Just like me.